everybody. My name is Ken Hassan, and I am the president of the Rotary Club of World Disability Advocacy. We're a club made up of people all over the world, and we focus on the human rights for people with disability, and we advocate for that. And I'm glad to be sitting here with one of our club members, Mr. Mark Stoddart. And Mark and I have a similar background, and we both have a neurodiversity, diversity, that's a hard word for me, I don't know why, kind of a background. And so we kind of share similar life experiences at this point. So I'm very much looking forward to this, Mark. Welcome.
Thank you, Ken. I'm Mark Stoddart, as Ken says, and I'm from Scotland in the UK. I'm dyslexic, neurodiverse myself, and I'm an artist, sculptor, designer, and been doing that for 33 years, or 34 years now. That dyslexia. When I was younger, it wasn't so recognised, and how would you put it best? I was forgotten about, and it kind of impacted my schooling, and then carried on from there into my adult life, and yeah, it probably still is affecting me. That when I went to school originally, I went to a kindergarten, then I went on to a prep school, and both of them didn't understand dyslexic neurodiverse people at all, and they thought that I was, how would you put it best? Yeah, they thought I was thick, they thought I was stupid, they thought I was lazy, they thought I just wasn't paying attention, and they used to do various things to try and shock me out of it. One of the things they would try and do, one of the occasions when I was 7 year old, I got my sums right because I had problems with numbers as well, and I got them raw. I got my sums right, so they said, right, you could have a half day off. Then they said, if you get your sums right, and they said to the whole school, if he gets his sums right, the whole school can have a day off. And I didn't know I was dyslexic, but it's the worst thing to do is put a dyslexic neurodiverse child under pressure because it just seems to bring it on even more. And I didn't get them right. So when I went back to school, I made a big white cone, put a D on it, put me in front of the school assembly, and then throughout the whole day put me in front to say that I was a dunce. And they thought they were doing me a favour by shocking me out of my laziness. And lots of things like that went on throughout my schooling. And yeah, I ended up getting bullied, and the kids, and sadly even the teachers, and at the second school even the headmaster, and I just kind of went into a shell, and I didn't say anything when I came home, and I thought upon myself as being a massive failure and a huge embarrassment to my family. My father was a successful business person, and my mother, at a period, had her own little business, and my sister never studied and could lift a book and then do an exam and muddle her way by, but that was not the case with me. I ended up getting left at home for over 2 years and basically forgotten about. And I got into gardening, and my father thought that maybe I would be able to go and work for the local council authorities and work for the parks department and get a job cutting the grass. And then some people said to my father, you cannot do that to him. You've got to give him a chance in life. And hat off to my father, he did do something about it, but he got pressured into it, and he found a school. As I say, I'm in Scotland, but he found a school in England right down at the bottom in Sussex, and the school is the first dyslexic school in the world and has been going for over 100 years. So dyslexic neurodiverse is not a new thing, and the school was quite an expensive school to go to. So I was fortunate to have the parents to go to send me there. So for the last 2.5 years of my schooling, up till I was just over 18, I went there. When I went to the school, I had zero confidence, zero belief, and I wouldn't go on a bus, I wouldn't go on a train, I wouldn't go out. I'd lost all my friends from coming away from school, and I had to start my times table, my alphabet, and everything from scratch. And the school gave me self belief and gave me confidence. And confidence is one of the most important factors with this. And then from that, I was able to, yeah, feel as though I had a self worth. And when I went to the school initially, I'd never been anywhere, gone away on my own, so it was a huge quantum leap to go and do something like that. And then when I went, I found out I'm not the only person that's dyslexic, neurodiverse. Everybody in the school was, and that immediately helped massively. And there was other people that I would say probably were more dyslexic than I was, because there's all different levels. I'm not saying that I was mild dyslexic. I was quite severe. And when I look back, the most strangest thing about it, the schools that I'd been to before, I do not remember anybody like me that when we played sports, I would always be the last person to be chosen to play football, soccer, or rugby, or cricket, or rounders, or anything. I had no coordination, eyeball contact, running. I just didn't have it, and it was. I would get held back in the classes, and the classmates would move up a year, and I would be held back in a year. And I don't remember anybody else being like that, and that is quite bizarre because there must have been other people that were dyslexic, but I don't remember anybody else like me at the schools that I'd been to. So that helped change my life dramatically, and I would say that's changed me full stop. Been given a break in life, and I went on to work for various companies. My father had a company, a small manufacturing pharmaceutical business, and I worked for him for a little while. Then I worked for an American pharmaceutical company, but again, that didn't work out very well. And I worked in advertising and marketing. And on various occasions, sadly, I did get fired from the jobs because I was dyslexic neurodiverse, and people just didn't have an understanding about me. There was one very, very large insurance investment company, and I got offered the job, and strangely, they turned around and said the managing director, the CEO, asked if you could go up to the boardroom and meet him up at head office. And everybody says, "Oh, it's unusual, but obviously he wants to have a wee chat with you." And I went in, and he presented a newspaper in front of me and says, "Oh, read that." And I kind of stumbled across a few words. And he says, "You got something called dyslexic, haven't you?" And I said, "Yes, yes, yes, that's right." "Okay, well, we couldn't employ somebody like you. We couldn't have somebody like you in this company." And I says, "Yeah, but I've been offered the job." "Yeah, well, I'm revoking it. We're not going to employ you." And at that time, I had got engaged and I was getting a house built down Walton-on-Thames outside of London. And that was the start of, sadly, that all went to pieces because of that episode. It totally destroyed my confidence and self-belief, and all the voices and all the things that had been told when I'd been going to school all kind of ricocheted back, and ended up kind of getting panic attacks and phobias and so on. But it all kind of stemmed out from there. So it is amazing how it can pull back in your life later on when you think everything's all okay. It's there, and it really does imprint. What I try to say to schools and teachers, uh, please be kind. And what I've been doing over the last 30 odd years is trying to give back to different charities through my work. What I do is create bronze sculptures, and they're done bronze, silver, and some are 100% Scottish gold. And over the 30 odd years, there's no part of the world that you can't mention that somebody won't, a client won't have collected one of my sculptures. And I've done a piece for the Scottish Parliament, for Elton John, for the King of Saudi Arabia, and the Man that Walked in the Moon, and the list goes on. So throughout the 30 years, I've tried to give back to different charities. So if I did a limited edition, the last one in the edition, I would put to a charity to raise funds for the charity. And they're all different charities I've done over the 30 years. In the last 3 years, I thought, what else can I do to try and help? I've been an ambassador for Dyslexia Scotland for a lot of years now. And before that, when I lived in London, I used to help the British Dyslexia Association. And then I thought, okay, what can I do? So during lockdown, I mentored somebody through Dyslexia Scotland with his sculpture, and I paid for his sculpture to be done in bronze, and then the second part to be done in the Scottish gold, and help market it and create awareness and do it. And then out in Indonesia, I was helping pay for kids to go to school and for laptops, etc. And then I thought, what else can I do? And so I personally funded to build the only dyslexic neurodiverse school in Indonesia. And I've also personally funded to pay the only dyslexic neurodiverse school in Kenya. And I'm also paying for teacher training courses in various parts of Kenya and other parts. And to be able to turn around and ask the question, why on earth are you doing that when you could be having quite a nice lifestyle and just spend the money that you've made? And I said, well, what I'm trying to do is give children and people as well a chance in life to realize their own dreams and hopefully not go through some of the things that I was put through in my life. And with my co-author in America, we wrote a book that is roughly based on my life and the ins and outs of what I went through. And again, the reason that I co-authored and did the book was to help other dyslexic neurodiverse people around the world not go through what I went through. And the royalties from the book go to Dyslexia Scotland. So that's the reasons I'm doing it. But I'll pass it back to you, Ken, about what we're doing with the
Yeah,
Rotary Club.
I love hearing your story, Mark. I've heard it many times, but it's still it's quite a story. Now let's go back to the basics though. Dyslexia. Dyslexia. Um, it, Up until meeting you and others, dyslexia to me was and I think a lot of people maybe, you see where it led us backwards. Is that what dyslexia is?
There's no one cap fits all when it comes to dyslexia. Uh, I keep learning more and more and more, sitting listening to different things and going to different conferences. I keep learning more about myself. Uh,
Yeah.
that the standards kind of thing is mixing up P's and Q's, B's and D's, and then trying to put big long letters that are double barreled together and doing it. That
Yes.
it's yeah, not easy to say the least.
So
That it's
so
reading and
you can't
writing.
go ahead.
It's reading and writing, but other people will turn around and say that some dyslexics are able to read, and you're like that. That doesn't make sense. But a neurodiverse brain, they're not all the same, and they're not all wired the same, literally. And as I say, with myself, I struggled with reading. I struggled with spelling, and I struggled with numbers and arithmetic, and I struggled with coordination. I also don't have an attention span. I end up just losing. So with a dyslexic person, you just teach them, and it's repetitive teaching, but you don't do it for a short time. You don't just batter away because the brain's just shut down. Uh, so as there was one occasion, and if you're going to say you're out with friends and you had a huge big table and everybody's all talking away, I will be next to somebody and talking to them, but my brain, for whatever reason, if I know somebody uh, that's on the table, like my partner and Sandra, and I will pick up what she's talking to somebody else. My brain will just pick it up and go to it. And so when the person next to me is talking, I'm only picking up 3 or 4 words in every 10 words of what they're saying. My brain's pulling, and it's the same if I go into a busy room and there's lots of people. I will gravitate to somebody that I know because there's so much going on. And it's the same, say we're booking a holiday and the television's on and she's on the laptop going back and forward and doing things and talking away, and you might as well talk to the wall. You will get more out of the wall than you will get from me. My brain will pull the television noise and movement, and it will pull that in, uh, and I'll only be picking up the odd word that's getting said. So it crisscrosses in a lot of different ways.
And you could have multiple disorders also. I mean, you could be included in ADHD. Your lack of focus could also be an ADHD, but it
Yeah.
doesn't matter what we call it. I mean,
So
basically, you have a learning disability, basically, and you, like many other people in the world, have a learning disability. And I wanted to get to the point where, okay, so let's go back to you, Mark, in school. And did you know you had dyslexia? You're basically saying no at some point. You didn't know it. You just believe what everybody told you. That, as you say, you called yourself a dunce. That's
yeah.
right. Yeah.
No, I didn't know for long and weary until I went to the other school late on. Uh, but a lot of damage had been done leading up to that point and imprinted into you, literally.
So, as a child, the teachers and probably your classmates your teachers, number one, were basically telling you that you lacked intelligence.
Yes.
That they weren't putting a word on it. They were just saying, for lack of a better word, and I hate this word, that you were stupid.
That was thick.
And yeah, and eventually you heard that over and over again. I know because I went through the same thing. That you'll believe them. Yeah, I am stupid. I guess I'm stupid.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
And,
the school reports and everything that I got were horrendous, and that was quite shocking. And there wasn't anything. There was no subjects. There wasn't sport. There was nothing that I was excelling in, or actually doing well in, or actually reasonable. There was none. So it was impacting in every direction. And at a certain point, my mother actually burned my school reports. So that says volumes.
yeah. So the impact on that as a child, but then an impact then again on an adult. Now it's not something you get over, really. It's not something you get over. If you
No,
agree with me on that.
no.
I mean, somebody said to me that had a neurological disability. People say to her, "Get over it. It was 40 years ago. Get over it." You don't
Mm,
get over
mm,
it.
mm.
You know, it's impacting your whole life.
No, I mean, you
Um,
could go by quite happily, and then there's a bump in the roads in life, as everybody's life gets now and again, and it just all suddenly comes woof, flooding back. And you start to doubt yourself, and you start to question yourself, and so on, because yeah, you've had it imprinted, didn't you?
yeah, exactly. So the thing is, then too, um, uh, that that was many years ago. When maybe dyslexia wasn't that well known. In my case, ADHD was not well known. Today, there's a little more education of people in the school systems to understand it a little better. But so
But
the thing is that you,
sadly, around the world, that's not the case. I'm sorry, Ken. If you start looking at throughout Africa, you start looking at India and the Philippines, and you start rhyming them off. Uh, no, I'm afraid they go way back to my times, if not worse, to what sadly gets happens there. And children end up stop going to school, and they end up just going and living in their villages. And if they, let's say, they get diagnosed and said, right, okay, you're various things, dyslexia, neurodiverse, and they go back and say to their family, well, the family, and okay, it was a different thing in my time, but I dare say, I mean, it wasn't nothing like as bad as I dare say some happens to, but they end up, the family think that it's a curse on the family, it's an embarrassment on the family, it's a disability that's been put onto the family, and it will put the family in a whole different steading to the village, that they've got this disabled child. And as I say, that is not to that extent, but that's how I felt with my family, that I was a massive embarrassment to my family, and I kept quiet about a lot of things that was going on and what happened to me. Uh, and you can't turn around and say that it's the teacher's fault or the school's fault if they haven't been taught to, one, identify, and then once they identify, is given the tools to try and teach the child. And so that's why I'm doing the teacher training courses, and Dyslexia Scotland's very kindly helping me, their teacher trainer, and we're using teacher training manuals that are called UFly from the university in Florida to help the teachers teach the children. And just in the last just in the last few weeks, the LDA, the Literacy Disability Association of America, have picked up what I'm doing, and they've said, would I become a member and a director of their organization? And because one, they recognize the training course that the manual you fly, and they're asking, could you help us to try and create more awareness around the world? But if you take it back to, I mean, the UK and other parts of the world, I'm not aware of research been done, but America and different parts of America have done research, and they reckon that about 50-60% of prisoners are dyslexic, and they reckon about, I mean, I think it was Texas, they had said about 80% in prisons are got a reading age of about 8, 9, 10, but they basically can't read or write. So it is quite shocking still in this day and age that there is still this the lack of help. But there's, I try to think why, since it was the end of the 1800s that it was discovered in Germany, and you sit and think, why is this not moved forward more? And I think it's just pure and simple money, finance. There isn't the finance to
Yeah,
have
yeah.
so many teachers and people teaching kids and doing it, because one, to identify is one thing, but then you need to put in place the teacher training, and then all the manuals and everything to help and support them becomes the issue. But as I've said to the education minister in Kenya, that if you can get on board with this, then the advantage to the country is massive, because you take a look at America and you think, okay, somewhere, say, like, let's look at NASA. NASA, they reckon there's over 60%, if not higher, of the, the staff that work there are dyslexic neurodiverse. Why? Because they see things different, they look at things in a different way, and that is a huge thing for a company to have somebody like that working for a company, because you could be sitting in a boardroom trying to resolve an issue, and somebody who's neurodiverse will literally just put the finger right on it, and everybody's like, that, how the heck did you see that? Because they think different, they see things different, and they can add a whole other layer to it. And if you look at the other side of the coin, I mean, Henry T. Ford, he was dyslexic, and Rockefeller, he was dyslexic, and you just rhyme them off. And it's because they see things different and they look at things in a different light.
So, Mark, so that gets down to your schools that you've supported, and people who have dyslexia or people that have a neurodiverse disability. They it's not that they can't learn; they just learn differently,
Yes.
and that's the reason why you've created these schools to make sure there's a school and schools that are teaching them how they should be taught. Correct?
Yeah. I don't run the day to day, and I don't own the schools. All I've done is put up the funding, and I also help with any training, and yeah, I help with anything and create awareness. Uh, that it's Nancy and Phyllis that run the school in Kenya, and then it's Dr. Andy Carroll, that runs the school in Indonesia, and it's very, very early stages, but it's through a friend who I met in Bali, and I met his friend who lives in Tokyo, and he funds companies around the world, and has one in Indonesia, and he's got a connection with the American embassy there, and part of the licenses for his company there is to do with education. So we're in talks at the moment, and they've said, literally just in the last kind of couple of weeks there, would the school be able to help with dyslexic people kind of more later on in life, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. And for the first phase, would you be able to help with 10,000? Dear gosh, that's quite something. Indonesia, if you look at it in the map, it doesn't look very big, but it's just the way the map is done. But it's actually the fifth large country in the world, and they're looking at, as I say, doing something like this, and then that's the first phase, and then expanding it. So it's amazing to just do something that you think is small, and to where it actually potentially goes. And I'm a firm believer. It doesn't matter about money. Everybody can do something to help, and do a little something, and put something back. And what we're doing with the Rotary Club is trying to help create awareness for dyslexia and neurodiverse, but more importantly, mental health awareness around the world. And yeah, a lot of people are dyslexic and neurodiverse, like people in prison. Yes, they will be suffering from mental health issues, but it crisscrosses. Everything crisscrosses. You know, you kind of put a label on there, but you find it crisscrosses. It's not just sits in one avenue, as you will find yourself, Ken.
Right. So, and let's just take a break here to give a little plug for the Rotary. I am, and Mark we're both members of the Rotary Club of World Disability Advocacy. This club actually, Mark, today is our 3-year anniversary of the club. We're still fairly young, and we're working on advocacy for the human rights for people with disabilities on a global level. Many Rotary clubs work on a local community level and do a great job at that. Our community is a little bigger. It's the world, and it's people with disabilities in the world, and we want to advocate in all different kinds of disabilities. And this particular area that we're focusing on, Mark, is huge. It's huge. And the unique thing about you is the fact that you experienced it, and you don't want other children to go through what you did. And so you're doing your part to do that. And you've done it with your schools that you've helped build, and continue to take a main interest in it. You've done it now with your book that you came out with. What's the name of your book, Mark?
Well, it's Making a Mark. Is the short version of it.
What's the name? Say it again. I'm sorry, I missed it. I think I froze up.
Making a Mark.
Making a Mark. And that book basically is about you. It's about you and what you went through.
It's about my story, yes.
So you're doing that and giving back and trying to help the people in the world by giving your story out. And now, I mean, you've taken on other projects too. You got the book there? You want to hold it up, Mark?
Well, it's just a little. Oops, got it right. There we go.
Ah, okay, there we go. Okay, and it's we're
Discovering the
giving a little.
power of neurodiversity on a learning safari.
Okay, very cool. And you can give it a little plug to it. You can buy that on Amazon, the book, right?
Yes, and
Okay.
you'll be able to get it in bookshops as well. They'll order them in for you.
Sorry if we're having a little internet problems here, but I'm in a kind of a rural area of Colombia. But the message is still clear, Mike, and that is to give back. To give back. Why? What is it within you, Mark, that wants to give back? Why is that important to you?
I don't know. Is the straight answer.
Yeah.
But most people look upon it and think, yeah, why are you doing this? Why you keep doing it? I'm working on a project at the moment with Sir Jackie Stewart, and it's not been announced yet, but I've done. It's the Tyrrell 006 that he won 2 world championships in, and Sir Jackie Stewart, I just think is amazing what he's done and how he's done things, and how he's yeah tried to give back throughout life. And I turned around and I said to Sir Jackie at one of the meetings, and I said, I don't feel as though I've ticked the box, and I don't feel as though I've achieved and been successful and achieved what I've set out to do. And he kind of paused for a minute, and I thought, oh dear, what have I said? And he says, I feel the same. And he says, it's just as well that we both do, because we would not carry on doing what we're doing to try and help people. But we keep trying to help other people and looking for something to try and do more and help. But he set up a charity called Race Against Dementia, and I've done, as I say, this sculpture. We're doing it in bronze, a small one and a small one in silver, and then we're looking at doing larger size ones. Uh, but that's to raise funds for dementia, and he, along with myself, is involved with Dyslexia Scotland, and he used to be involved with the British Dyslexia Association when I was down in London. Uh, so it's probably I kind of look at it and I think, yeah, I've had different things in my life, and I can't say they've made me feel happy. Uh, you know, but as I say to people, we're all different, and that's what makes the world. I say, let's say somebody walked out, bought a new Ferrari. Well, when they're in their coffin at the end of the day, maybe you get the salesman coming along and saying, "Yep, it was a good fellow. I got a good commission out of that." But I'd rather think that I'd helped other people to realize their own dreams in life and not go through what I went through. And hopefully, some of them will put something back into life as well. And that'll make me happy to think that we've helped the world go round in a positive way. And we've been kind. It's not easy. I'll grant you that.
No,
At times,
no.
it's not the easiest path to go
It,
down.
there's something inside you that keeps driving you every day when you wake up. We
Yes.
got to do something to help the world, help the children, and God bless you for doing that. And you've been very successful at your artwork, and the fact that you're not just satisfied with that success, you need to do more. Is comes us to this latest piece that you're working on or have already created, and we're now working on promoting it. And tell us a little bit about it. I mean, first of all, let's talk. We don't have a picture here, but you can see it. So I'll put a picture when we post it. No, you can't say in the camera, Mark. You gotta pull up. It's a coffee table, but it's a coffee table that I would think anybody would love to have. And it's a hippo,
Well,
basically in the water, kind of.
people turn around and say, why am I doing what I'm doing in Kenya? Well, way back in the 80s, I used to go back and forward to Kenya, and there was a group of uh, very skilled craftsmen, and they used to make handmade chess sets for me to my designs. And then when you're on safaris, you would go on, when you were there, you go on different safaris. And so the idea behind it is a hippo in a pool of water. So the glass is water, and the hippo head or back sitting above the water line as they do, and then you've got the body of the hippo. Uh, that it's a sculpture, it's design, it's engineering. That for the 30 odd years of doing, as people call it, functional art, people don't have space to have big sculptures in their homes. So what I set out to do was create a sculpture, but turn it into a coffee table or a dining room table, but have the glass as an intricate part of the sculpture. And then I created fixings that are registered for connecting the glass to the hippo. And you literally could, I don't recommend it, but you could literally stand on top of it or sit on top of it, and it's got thermal expanding fixings that will take that pressure, and for the heat and the cold, with glass and metal expanding at different temperatures. So we've created this bespoke one-off piece, but not, and that's all hand done at Powder Hall Bronze in Edinburgh, down in Leith, Edinburgh in Scotland. And to add another dimension to it, what I've done is a sculpture of a little oxpecker bird. You'll see little oxpecker birds on hippos and on rhinos, and they basically take the ticks out. And that has all been hand cast and done at Hamilton Inch Jewellers in Edinburgh as well, in Scotland. And Hamilton Inch Jewellers are probably one of the best, if not the best, jewellers in Scotland. And they have the royal family crest because they supplied for many, many years. They've been going, different members of the royal family, the Queen Mother and the Queen, and now the King, and they supply them with different pieces in 100% Scottish gold and then silver, and yeah, all different things that they make. And it's all hallmarked and stamped and done. So it's a one-off piece that is, to say unique is an understatement.
I mean, and you put the finest metals and everything into this. This is something that the quality of it is unbelievable. The fact that it's an art piece created by you, um, and it's created, and your art pieces are owned or somehow people around the world, very very famous people, have at some point gotten a piece of your artwork. You tell the story that your artwork is around the world, in every continent in the world. Your artwork is so well known, and to think that anybody in this world could be owning that art piece is incredible. And I can imagine it not only in somebody's house. I got a place already set aside in my house when I win it, but what kind of a piece would that be in a lobby of a corporate headquarters of someplace, moving in and seeing that very beautiful artwork there, or in a museum, or in a zoo somewhere, or anywhere? To have that piece there is incredible that you could win that thing. And let's talk a little bit about that. So you created the art piece, this beautiful art piece, uh, and you're not trying to sell it. You want it to raise money for what?
Well, I want the piece to raise money uh, that I paid. Well, it's all my time, and I created the piece during lockdown when to create the original piece and make the molds. That was all done during lockdown, and so I was allowed to spend a lot more time than I would normally spend on doing a piece, doing it, and then we've gone ahead and used the molds and got it cast in bronze, and then the Oxpecker bird done. Uh, so to do a one-off piece, normally you do an edition of 6, 10, and quite often I do 50 or 99, and you offset all the costs of creating a piece over the edition. Well, this it's not going to be offset off against. It is just one piece. So to create a one-off piece is a lot of money, uh, and I'm not charging anything for it. I don't want a penny back for it. And on top of that, what I'm doing, I will create it up and ship it around the world and pay for it to be shipped to whoever wins this piece. We did a sculpture that was a special piece for a zoo in America called Cincinnati Zoo, and they have a hippo there. Well, they've got a few hippos, but they've got one called Fiona the hippo, and we did a raffle for them to help raise money, and a small percentage of it went to the school. Just to start it off in Kenya. So the school in Indonesia, they've built the first phase. I've gave them the money to finish the second phase that out my own pocket, and the school in Kenya, I've given them the money to build the first phase and start the second phase. So some of the money from this will go to the second phase of the school in Kenya, and some of the money will go to the Rotary Foundation, and then some of the money will go to mental health. So it'll get split three ways. But I do not receive one single penny from this or one single dollar from this. Uh, and on top of that, I'm also paying for the marketing and promoting the whole project. But you go back to around the world, and I'll tell you a funny story. I got invited to a friend's wedding in the Philippines, and the bride had about 150 guests, and the groom had about 10, and we were all from Scotland. And of course, typical Scot perks up and says, "Oh, everywhere in the world, how about the Antarctic?" And I was like, "Oh dear goodness! Oh, you always get one." And I paused for a little bit, and then I suddenly said, "Yes and no." And they said, "It can be yes and no. It has to just be a no or a yes." And I said, "No, it's a yes and no. I'll explain. There was a ship built in Norway, and it sailed from Norway down to Southampton, and I had to meet the ship at Southampton and put the table on. The ship is called The World, and I saw it in New York just last year, moored up. And it's basically people's huge big Manhattan apartments. And the sculpture produced went into somebody's Manhattan apartment in the ship. and the ship constantly sails around the world, and the people that own the apartments, they say where they want to go, and the ship has been to the Antarctic. So the person's home was in the Antarctic for a short while, and then it sailed out. So one of my sculptures was in the Antarctic at somebody's home.
Unbelievable. And a couple other questions I'm going to have for you, Mark, before we sign off. But I want to say hello to Neely and to Nate. Both of them are friends of the club. Actually, in Nate's case, he was one of the founding charter, not charter, but he was there in the beginning and helped planning this club from the United States. So hello to both of you. And so we, and there's a second and third prize. What is that, Mark? Now, if you don't win the table, which I'm going to win, so nobody else is going to win it. So there's a second and third prize. What is that?
It's 5,000 UK pounds is the second prize, and the third prize is 1,000 UK pounds.
Okay.
And that would be
So
in dollars, roughly.
Yeah, £5,000 is like over 6,000 US dollars, and £1,000 is over 1,500 US dollars. So I mean that in alone is just amazing price. In itself could be a first prize. And we know your table is worth over 60,000 US dollars. That's what it's valued at. But the bottom line is, and when I post this, I'll post the link to how you can enter the raffle for £5, which is like $6 and something US dollars. An incredible low amount to win any of these three prizes. But the bottom line is, as you've just said, your £5, $6 is pretty much 100% or pretty close to it, not quite, going to the cause, going to help out the those marks, those children marks that are in the world today. I'm using your name, but you can put anybody's name in there, or the Mothers, or whoever they are, that are now struggling like you were, and you don't want that to happen.
No.
So everybody can their money that they give to it, whether they win or not, is going to help improve things in the world for these children. Correct?
Yes, and it's not only children. If what we're doing through the Rotary Club and the 1.4 million members around the world of the Rotary Club start talking about mental health issues, it's not something that we will probably ever hear, but you'll be guaranteed you will help save somebody by creating awareness and talking about mental health issues. And you cannot put a price on that.
I constantly think about somewhere in the world, and many places in the world, where there is a child with either a mental health or a neurodiverse kind of disability that's misunderstood, maybe sitting in a room somewhere. And that child may or may not, but that child has a talent that they can bring to the world. And we don't want it to be wasted, whatever that talent might be. We want people we want these children to have an opportunity. You were lucky, Mark.
Yes.
You and I
lucky.
were both lucky.
I was lucky.
You and I were lucky. But there's lots of children that doesn't have the same luck that we have. And we want to help them.
The teacher training courses that we're doing, we're starting to hear that some of the teachers are going away back out to the villages and bringing the child back to school because, one, they've realised that it's not the child that failed, it was the school that failed the child. and I brought them back. If I could tell one other story, there was a lady who lived when I was very young down the road from me, and she was a retired head mistress, and she tried to help me but didn't know I was dyslexic neurodiverse at the time. And then later on in life, when I'd been found out, my parents went and told her, and she kind of paused and then says, "Oh, I failed in life." And my parents are like, what do you mean you failed in life? And she says, "When I start thinking about it, some of the children that I've had through my school when I was the headmistress," she said, "they ended up in institutions. Way back in the UK time, there used to be huge, big Victorian institutions, and people would be institutionalized, and they would be there for the rest of their life." And she says, "I've actually ended up putting them into institutions by the way that I've taught them and the way I've treated them. And now I think about it, some of them were just dyslexic neurodiverse." That is something. I mean, that's a horrendous thing to have in your conscience.
Yeah, absolutely. And so once I get this posted, I'm going to put the connection to the raffle on there. Yeah, you can win some fabulous prizes by entering the raffle, but maybe your motivation is beyond this. Maybe you yourself have a neurodiverse disability or a mental health challenge that you want to help out too. Maybe you're passionate about the subject. Maybe you know somebody who's going through this. Um, Maybe you just want to make this world a better place. And you can by entering this raffle. So, final thoughts, Mr. Mark, here. What is your message to that child who is at this point in their life dealing with what you did as a child? What is the message to that child?
Well, hopefully, one, if possible, be kind, and two, you can make it. And I hope that you get given a chance in life to realize your own dreams in life and fulfill your own life and live a happy life.
Absolutely. And I think going back to my days when I don't know what they call them today, but guidance counselor back then said to me, "You're never going to college. You're never going to make it." And they told you the same thing. And the key is to believe in yourself more than you believe in that person who's misunderstands you. So that's the whole thing. It's just a misunderstanding. It's got nothing to do with you as a person. You're as capable as anybody else, and you got to believe in yourself. So, Mr. Mark, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for dedicating all this to help improve the world. The world needs more people like you, and I'm blessed to have you in the club. So, thank you.
Thank you for letting me be a member of the club.
Well, we got many more mountains to tackle, sir. So this is only one. Okay, very good. Thank you, everybody, and please enter the raffle.
Thank you.